Good Sunday morning to you. Welcome to the Southeast Idaho Weather Hazard Briefing for today, Sunday, July 2nd. Taking a look at the key points for the next few days running into the 4th of July holiday. Look for breezy winds today, some isolated storms mainly to the south, and continued very warm conditions. Monday, very similar to today with a little bit more coverage for thunderstorms, a little bit windier. Still very warm and expecting a weak frontal passage late in the day. Looking ahead to Tuesday the 4th, happy Independence Day. Isolated to scattered storms across much of the area. Breezy, a little bit cooler thanks to that weak frontal passage prior day. Most of the thunderstorm and wind activity looks to diminish around sunset for those communities that are preparing for their fireworks displays. Then as we head into midweek, look for drier conditions. Here's the weather risk outlook, highlighting what we've just discussed, and we'll get into the details here shortly. You can see that most of the activity here is stacked over the next few days heading into the 4th of July day with breezy to windy conditions and slight chance to showers and thunderstorms across the area. And then see those drier conditions with less wind heading into Wednesday and Thursday, although a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the northeast corner, basically around the Island Park area. Taking a look at the satellite imagery across the region this morning, not much going on. Most of that nighttime activity keeping the clouds suppressed. We'll see some of that pick up during the day today. All right, let's get into some of those details. Here's the storm track for the next few days. Starting off today, we've got some high pressure settled down over the southwestern U.S. toward the south central U.S. with a little bit of low pressure trying to dig into the Pacific Northwest, kind of coming out of the deep low pressure centered over central Canada. East Idaho is trapped in the middle of that between those two systems. Today's forecast, with the influence of that ridge of high pressure to the south, we see those temperatures still approaching or exceeding 90 degrees for much of the lower elevation areas today. Similar to yesterday, a couple degrees up in some areas and right about the same in others. Our chance of thunder today, there's a little bit of moisture working around that high coming through northern Nevada. So we'll see a chance of thunderstorms kind of creeping into the areas along the Utah border this afternoon into this evening, and maybe a chance of thunder also creeping into the Island Park and maybe Driggs area again today, working around some moisture centered over Montana and Wyoming. As to those winds, here's the chance of wind gusts exceeding 25 miles per hour today. You can see that most of the windy conditions will be across the Central Mountains and much of the Snake Plain, especially the Arco Desert. So if you're driving across 20 or 26 today through the Snake Plain, you might want to keep an eye out for some crosswinds. At this time, we do believe that the winds will stay below our wind advisory or even lake wind advisory criteria. But since it is the holiday weekend, if you do plan on being out and about on American Falls Reservoir, you might want to pay attention to the wind forecast and wind conditions as we move through the day. Moving into Monday, you can see the low pressure still digging into the Pacific Northwest, and that high pressure is trying to creep a little bit further north. That's going to squeeze East Idaho in between the two systems again, like we saw, but we're starting to see some mid and upper level winds pick up a little bit, and things start to get a little more active on Monday for East Idaho. Still looking warm, still see that influence of that ridge. Temperatures should be pretty similar to what we're going to see today. But the thunderstorm activity does look to increase a little bit as we see some more moisture creep into the area. We're starting to look at isolated to scattered thunderstorm conditions spreading through mainly most of the eastern highlands, parts of the Central Mountains, the interstate corridor from Burley up to Idaho Falls and Rexburg tomorrow afternoon and early evening. Wind gusts, again, ahead of that weak little frontal system trying to move through. Wind should be strongest on Monday, and you can see, especially compared to today, the chance for wind gusts exceeding 25 miles per hour looks significantly higher over more of the area. So we are still maybe approaching the lower limits for lake wind and wind advisory across the Snake Plain and American Falls Reservoir. So again, given the holiday weekend, if you do expect to be recreating or perhaps driving across the Snake Plain on 20 or 26, you might want to pay attention to updated wind forecasts and current wind conditions for crosswinds and some chop on the reservoir. Now we get into the nitty-gritty for the 4th of July, the day that everybody wants to know about. We'll have that frontal passage late on Monday. So looking at the storm track here, doesn't really look that much different from Monday, but there are some subtle differences here in the forecast. Temperatures do look a little bit cooler, some 5 to 10 degrees below Monday. So by the time we get to sunset and community fireworks displays, should be excellent viewing temperatures for people sitting outside. Thunderstorm activity does look to generally align itself from the Central Mountains down to the southeast corner. Eastern Magic Valley, Southern Highlands do look a little bit drier compared to Monday. Again, most of this activity should be during the afternoon and early evening. Most of it should be diminishing about sunset. Wind-wise, compared to Monday, much less wind. Most of the wind should be from the northwest. And again, most of the wind should peak during the afternoon and dissipate around sunset. So at this point in time, we don't anticipate any issues for community celebrations. Looking ahead into midweek, you see that high pressure is shunted a little bit further to the south, and we get into a more westerly flow, which should be a little bit drier for us. Most of the activity, the shortwave activity that brought our more active weather for Sunday and Monday should be shifted out into the plains. So we are looking at drier conditions, maybe a little bit warmer heading into Wednesday as compared to Tuesday, but still on the cooler side. And in summary, again, breezy to windy conditions over the next couple of days. Those winds do dissipate into Tuesday, still a little bit on the breezy side, but most of the stronger winds should be today and Monday. Isolated to scattered thunderstorms kind of shifting around the region through today through Tuesday. Again, most of that activity we do expect to diminish around sunset each day. Warm today and Monday, but with that weak frontal passage late in the day on Monday, we do expect those cooler temperatures on Tuesday and then dry conditions trending into midweek. So that does it for the briefing this morning. Thank you for joining us. We will continue to keep an eye out for thunderstorm and wind activities that may impact community celebrations moving through the 4th of July. Thank you for joining us.